retention. This is absolutely one of the core focus areas for any product and a marketing team. So I'm going to run you through this user life cycle stage for Meetup, and I'll show you how they can go about tracking events that will fit within their retention stage of the user life cycle. Why is it important for Meetup to focus heavily on their retention tracking? So there's a couple of things. So if they want to answer questions such as what is our overall retention rate, after how many days or weeks do users stop using our app? Because if we've acquired users or users to the app and they stop using the product or app, it's a big problem for Meetup. Other questions that they could answer is, what are our power users doing within the app on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis? And they can also look at what actions do non-paying users take versus their best paying customers. And they can basically compare the two different engagement or action types people take within the app. They can also look at which features within the app get used primarily. And they can also look at which features don't get any usage. And if there's certain apps within or features within the app that doesn't get used often, they could replace it by something else and reduce the friction. And they can also set up A/B split test to further grow their product. And if you know the current engagement within your app, it's a great research strategy to help you feed your experimentation strategies. So if you look at my screen here, I've got the tracking plan that I've populated for Meetup, and this is the retention events. So if you want to understand or get a glimpse of how these columns work and what their function is, we do have access for you to a how-to video on how to use and understand this tracking plan format. And you'll also get access to the full populated tracking plan for Meetup, as well as 3 other products that we've selected to populate a similar tracking plan. You'll also get access to video courses and a health score audit. So be sure to access the full tracking plan somewhere in this article. I think it will be either lower down or it'll be above this section. So if I go into this specific section within the tracking plan, you can see there I've jotted down a bunch of events. I'm just going to quickly run through them from top to bottom, and then I'll show you some of them within the live app. So you can see there's login completed, logout completed. It might not always be a useful event to fire within your app, but for Meetup, it could be a useful event to set up analysis for within their dashboards if they want to keep count of the amount of logins and logouts on a regular basis. And you can see there, when you log into the app, there's various authentication types. There's email. You can do it via email, Facebook, or Google. And we will push that as a event property and event values to Meetup's platform. And then if I go further down here, the user can also go in and update their profile. So if I, for instance, want to disable the privacy of showing groups to the public, I can hide that or disable it. I can change my profile picture. I can choose more categories of interest, and that will also get triggered alongside the update the profile event. Then they started a new group. So if a user goes in and start a new group, there's viewed a group. It's similar to a page view, which you'll see in something like Google Analytics. So you can either set it as viewed group, or it could be a screen view. This will help Meetup to track how often people view groups and which type of group categories. So you can see there, so event property and value. So it will give them a great indicator of which groups are popular amongst their users. You can also track, or they can also track requested to join groups. So when a user goes in and requests to join a group, and there's also search for upcoming meetups. When a user uses the search function within the Meetup product, they can track that. There's also Meetup viewed, if you want to view or when the user view a individual meetup, it will fire the event. And I can also request to join a meetup as a user. And then there's also different categories. I can also save a meetup, and I can start a new conversation with some of the meetup creators or the group creators. So these are some of the events that Meetup can push to their analytics platform. And you'll see there's certain conditions or trigger conditions that I've added to this sheet. You can see that for every single event that gets fired, there's a trigger condition. I've also gone as far as including or recorded a video for each individual event, so you can see exactly where in the app this event will fire. So you do have access to this if you subscribe to this tracking plan that's been populated for you to use as inspiration. So if I quickly go into the live environment of Meetup, so this is their web application. So I'm quickly going to I'm going to trigger some of the events here. So if I do a search, let's say I want to search for, let's go for hiking. And I'll press enter. The moment that search is completed, it will fire an event. And whatever I've entered here as search text, that will get pushed as an event property and value to Meetup's analytics platform. And then I can, once again, let me just show that to you again. So if I go cycling, it will also fire an event. But this is where it gets interesting. So if I trigger a no results found error with the search function, they could put a delay on firing this specific event, or they could fire the event. They can also add a value or push a value of error or no results. So if a user triggers this no results found error quite often or frequently, that is a good indicator to Meetup that they need to work on how they serve their results to users so that it becomes a better user experience. Because for instance, if I took the effort to come back to your app and I trigger this no results found error quite frequently, I will bounce or abandon your app and I will probably never return. And that will cause a low retention rate for someone like Meetup. If I quickly go into, let's say I want to view the specific event. So I can go in there and I can fire or trigger the event if I've viewed this Meetup. So the moment this page loads, it will fire an event called Meetup Viewed. And then I can trigger, I can request to join. So if I click on that, and if I complete this sign or this request form here, it will fire an event called Meetup Requested to join. So again, if I complete this form and I click next and it gets approved, it will fire an event to Meetup's analytics platform. You'll see here, so in the sheet, I haven't created 2 steps for the request to join Meetup event. What you can do is you can set up the first event or the first step in the event as a click on this request to join call to action button. So when I click on that, it will fire the first event. And the second event could be, or the second step for the specific event could be when a user completes this sign up or request form here. So if I complete this form and I click next and it serves a confirmation, that could be step 2 of the request to join Meetup event. Okay, if I just close this, I can also start a new group. And while that's busy loading, you can see there's a bunch of options and things I need to complete. But once again, as I've said, let me just go one back. I haven't created 2 different steps for this specific event. It will be great if Meetup can do that. It's advised to ensure that you can slice and dice every single touch point in your app. If you create 2 different steps, you can actually see what percentage of people or what ratio of people click on the start a new group. So they did show intention to start a new group. But on the step 2, they've abandoned the process of starting a new group. And if the ratio between clicks on the start a new group is much higher than start a new group completions, that is a good indicator for Meetup that they need to work on, improving the user experience essentially, or potentially of this specific process or action that I need to take within the app. So I'm not going to trigger, I'm going to create a group now. But as I've said, I click on start a new group, could fire the first event. And then once I've completed this form, so once I've selected all these different topics and elements, and I click next and I get a confirmation, that will fire the step 2 within this specific event. And as I tick all these options, backpacking, walking, hiking, outdoor fitness, you could push that as event properties and event values. So an event property for this could be topic. So it could be group topic as the event property, and whatever I've selected here could get pushed as an event value to Meetup's analytics platform. I'm just going to trigger some more stuff here. So I can go in and update my profile, and that will trigger another event. So if I open my profile, and I can essentially change my profile picture, and that will fire an event. I can also edit my interests. So if I click on that, and it brings up the screen, so I can add more interests, search for interest. So whenever I complete an action within my outdated profile or general settings within the profile, it could fire an event that I called updated profile. So you can see there, updated profile, and there's all the different event properties and values that you can push to Meetup's platform, depending on what the user have selected or updated here. So that's another event. If I show you 2 more events, so there's login completed and log out completed. Let me just quickly show you what that looks like. So when I click on log out, it will fire the event called logged out. And then the reverse of that could be login. If I click on that, and once I've confirmed my login type or method, so I'm going to sign in through my Gmail account. If I click on that, and once it's verified me as an account holder, let me just quickly check here. It's quite slow on loading, but once that has loaded, let me just give it another shot. It must be something on their end. Let me just quickly stop this from loading. So I'll go log in with Google. Seems to be having issues, but you get the idea, yeah? So if I click login and I confirm my account, it will log me in. And when the login has been confirmed, it will fire an event called login completed. So I've taken a high level view of some of the potential, the major actions people can take within the app. They can use something like this and build it out to ensure that they track their engagement and retention on their app, on a rigorous basis. Because retention and acquisition is definitely some of the major user lifecycle stages that Meetup needs to ensure, or that they need to focus on to ensure that they can slice and dice their insights or analytics to really answer all those tough business questions in order to grow as a business. So that's it. Use this. Build out your own tracking plan with the retention events. And if you get stuck and you need advice, please let us know or reach out to us, and we will help you set up your retention event tracking in no problem, in a jiffy. Great. Thank you. Cheers.